Well, let's get started with some blessings. Who's got some blessings?
I do.
Bam.
As of like an hour and a half ago, I just went pending. So I have a closing hopefully July 30th. It's another investment property. And I'm a little nervous. We're waiving appraisal again, but I think it'll be okay. And we already have about $10,000 worth of bookings coming up for her. So even if she does have to make up the difference, at least she has bookings scheduled to kind of make that up, get her money back.
Where's this investment property?
Kissimmee, it's Story Lake.
Okay. Okay. Oh man, Story Lake's Lennar though, right?
Yes. Well, apparently there's three different builders, but the one that we went with is Lennar.
Okay.
It's a Lennar house.
What are they paying?
Oh, it's not the builder.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it was an agent who listed the property. So the office is getting 3%.
Nice. Nice. Okay, cool. Because Lennar sucks.
Yeah, they started doing flat rates.
Yeah, they started doing flat rates. Sometimes not even paying you on chips. So that's around Lennar. That's a big win. That's a big blessing. And congratulations on your investment. Out of curiosity, you said this was another investment property. How are you kind of getting your like, is it just random that you're ending up with investors, or did she freeze on us? Yeah, I think she did.
Yeah.
Sorry, I did. I don't know what's going on.
So you said this was another investment property. Is it just luck that you're getting investors, or what's going on with that?
Yeah, it's basically just been luck. A lot of the people that I've been connecting with just decide that they want to do an Airbnb. A lot of times they're telling me that they want to purchase something where they can down and stay for some time, but it's not going to be like a second home for them. So we end up just doing more of an investment property, so that way they have income coming in as well.
That's awesome. And by the way, Wendell, I took your advice, and I was looking for short-term rental properties for somebody. I know you like Windsor Island Resort. So I'm going to try to set up an appointment to go show one of those. And those are 10%. So I had a client that was looking for initially investment, and then they wanted a primary, and then they're like, well, maybe we should go back to an investment or someplace that we can live for a while, whatever the case may be. So we went around this big circle, and then now I'm like, okay, I'm only showing you 10% properties. Okay. Cause you didn't listen to me the first time. So we're just going to go, I'm taking them to the Grove tomorrow and Windsor Island Resort, and and pray for me. Hopefully he buys both. All right. Who's got some more blessings? Who wants to come in? Dylan, what's up, man? Dylan, no, you did get your hair cut, Dylan, but you ain't brushing it though. You ain't brushing it, kid.
Everybody's frozen on my screen. Everybody's frozen.
Everybody's frozen. No.
Yeah, I've been going through the same thing. It's starting to come back slowly.
Okay.
Yeah, I actually got kicked out.
That's weird.
I got a blessing though, Bobby. We put a contract in for a buyer today. Hopefully he'll hear by tomorrow. It's my buyer that, we lost that deal that I told you about. We're under contract. So now she's being super aggressive. So we went $11,000 above asking with $10,000 above appraised value if it appraises lower. So she's getting real aggressive, which is great.
Nice.
And then the listing that I have secured should be going live hopefully in the next 2 weeks. I had my appointment with the seller last week to kind of go over the property and what they need to do. And then I spoke to them yesterday. Originally on the buy side, after that transaction, they wanted to put $100,000 down on the next house and finance. And then she informed me that instead she wants to take all of her money and buy $300,000 cash. So we'll definitely be going.
Nice.
Yeah, good stuff.
Deals having babies. I like that. Let's see. All right. Who else? Christy, your husband doing better?
Yes, I am very blessed. So don't get me started because it won't stop.
Okay.
We are very blessed. He is alive. He is home. He is detoxing basically from everything that they've injected him with for 3 days to save his life, but he's good. He wants to be better. He wants to be more, move around more.
He's fighting the good fight. I can tell you that. I mean, it's
Yeah, and he now knows that I'm even more amazing than he thought I was. So yes, I know I'm amazing. I saved his fucking life, just so you know. If I wasn't there, he would not have survived.
that's got to build some brownie points, I think, in your house.
Yeah, I have lots of. I told him to stop saying thank you because it's about to not mean anything.
That's funny. That's fine. Well, I'm glad he's doing okay and he's recovering.
He is. He is. He will be fine, and I have more doctors than I've ever thought I would have in my life.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It is crazy because you learn a lot. I learned a lot through this too, because there are different kinds of neurologists. So you got to have an oncologist neurologist. Because a regular neurologist doesn't really know the interactions of chemo on the brain.
Oh, wow.
I know, right? Who knew? Who knew?
Figuring it out on the fly, but you've been at it for a while. So kudos to you.
Yeah.
Who else has got some good stuff going on?
I don't know, but I got Yandel frozen with this awesome little smile on his face on my computer screen.
Yeah, he's not frozen for me. So, but you made him smile. I can tell you that. He's laughing in the back.
I think my internet keeps telling me that it's unstable because right now we're going through a huge rainstorm here.
Yeah,
So
just passed here.
pretty sure
Fantastic.
I'm on the east side of town.
Zach, you got some blessings for us? Yeah, you. Zach was like, oh shit, I wasn't supposed to be paying attention right now.
No, I heard everything you said. Sorry, I'm boasting. Do I have any blessings? Just accomplished one of my second goals for the year was just to finally pick up a multifamily. So I did that. So that's super duper dope.
How many units?
Just 2.
Little duplex.
Yeah, sick deal. 290. So this is kind of cool what I'm doing, right? Just because like it'll relate to the group to look out for these kind of deals. So 290. I found private money because it's a wholesale deal. So I'm gonna put 10% down. I'm gonna get obviously a higher rate on private money, but like basically even where the interest only payment is, the rents on each side cover it. The property is worth probably 330 with a little bit of cosmetics, so paint, a little freshening up, 330, 340 all day long. But here's the cool thing, right? Duplexes require you to have 25% equity for a rate and term refinance an investment property. So I'm going to pick it up private money, 2-3 months, turn around, refinance it in, and I'll have that equity. So I don't have to come out of pocket anything. So basically I got into a duplex with 10% down. My payment's going to be like $1,300 and it rents out for $1,300 a side. So I'll have, 60-70 grand of equity in it. So these deals are out there, man. All it was just me positioning myself in front of a wholesaler and just be like, I want first right of refusal. Like, give me your next property, right? So if you don't ask, you don't get. So that was a huge win for me. I'm excited about that. I'm just going to keep doing that.
And wholesalers. I mean, I've used wholesalers to do a lot of deals. I mean, look, I like creating relationships with wholesalers. They're out there scouring for deals, right? And you can, when I have an investor, I'm not only looking at the MLS, but I call some wholesalers and be like, hey man, what do you got? You got something like this? And if you build a good relationship, you can talk to them straight up and figure out how to add your commission in there. And sometimes they even share their commission with you. But definitely a great resource for for properties and for buyers. So if you have a property that's definitely an investment type of property, a lot of these wholesalers can get it sold for you. And I've used them for that too. So good stuff, man. First duplex. Good.
Yeah, man.
Good.
And another blessing is we got our Lake Mary office 100% back open and operational. So you guys got to come check us out here sometime. But we got Got a bunch of team in here rocking and rolling and stuff. And this is just one half of the office. But if you guys want to ever come by, pretty dope setup.
You have a room for us like we have a room for you here downtown?
Huh?
You have a room for us like we have a room for you downtown?
You mean my office downtown? Yeah. We've got a couple conference rooms on the other side. We've got definitely, if you want to hit us up and come by, you're in the
So if you guys are in Lake Mary
or want to meet a client. And
Yeah.
thanks to Bobby for securing the spot for us too.
Yeah, it's a beautiful office, guys, and it's right there. If you guys are familiar with 46A in that like Colonial Town area, and then International Park, right, 46A, right there next to Heathrow. So it shows really great, awesome places to eat. So if you ever want to take clients out there, work out there, it's really, really awesome. Good stuff. Okay, we got time for one more.
I guess I'll go. This is gonna tie into the meeting, but I'm super blessed to have gone on a listing appointment last week with you, and I've learned a lot of things. So that was definitely eye-opening, because the first one we went to was not really traditional, but this one definitely was. And I'd learned a lot about myself, and where I, need to just be like, all right, relax, Alexis, stop trying to go and calculate the steps, just freaking chill and go with the vibe. But yeah, that's my blessing.
That's awesome. For some reason, like, I don't know, like I was looking at your hair, like you just have it tied back, right, Lexi?
Yeah.
Okay. I swear to God, when I first turned this on, here's my blessing. When I first turned it on, the way the light shines on one side of your head, Lexi, I thought you had shaved your head, right? And yeah, because like on the side that faces the window, it's like really bright, and I'm like,
oh.
And I thought you went like Britney Spears, and I was like, and when I went to go to the bathroom and come back, I was like, I don't know how I'm going to tackle this topic, because I was like, Lexi just shaved her head. And I was actually hoping that somebody else would attack it while I was gone, and then I wouldn't have to like deal with it. But then as you kept talking, I was like, oh no, she just got it tied back. That was the sun shining. So that was my blessing.
No.
You didn't go tears on us and go shaving your head. Although we'd love you if you did do that.
Yeah. No.
Cool. So awesome, guys. Well, one thing I do want to say is, Wendell, our condolences go out to you, my brother. Obviously, Wendell lost his father, and he's been, I know it's a tough time, man, but we got your back. We love you, man. I actually didn't expect you to be on the call, but we appreciate you, man. We love you, and we're praying for you. All right. So let's talk about a little bit about listing appointments. So how many of you guys have gone on a listing appointment? Yeah. Okay, cool. I don't see everybody, but we got a good amount. So I wanted to kind of go over a little bit of the process, because, Alexis and I met that day, and, I realized there's probably a couple of things, everybody has their different styles when it comes to doing listing appointments. But I thought it would be valuable to kind of, first discuss, kind of the process leading up to it, right? So you guys know, obviously you're going to, most of the time it's like you guys are just getting your paperwork together, and, you need your listing, agreement, your HOA disclosure, your seller's disclosure, and all that stuff. But I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about kind of prepping for the appointment and then actually going on a listing appointment. I really want, I think everybody should be focusing on trying to get more and more listings so that we can control the product, right? So now we're not just fighting against everybody else's offers. We're actually getting listings, in our bag. Like Victoria called me this week, and, I told her, she's got this buyer, this multi-million-dollar buyer. And, he told her that he didn't want to work with a buyer's agent, and he wanted to go directly to the listing agent because he had lost some offers and blah, blah, blah. And we discussed a couple of different strategies of how to get that guy on board. But mainly the strategy is just meet with them in person first. Don't fight them on the thing that they want to do, but do get the appointment, right? So if they say, hey, I don't want to deal with I don't want to deal with, a buyer's agent because that's how I lost it. I do, like Gil says, you align first. I can certainly understand that. There are some really bad buyer's agents and some buyer's agents that will cost you deals. So don't fight them on the thing that they're saying. So there's some that will cost you deals. I'm not one of those buyer's agents, but either way, I'd like to help you find the home. Even if you're not using me directly, I'd like to do what I can, but I'd love to meet you first and kind of sit down and get to know you. Would that be okay? And then once you get in person, you can kind of start kind of knocking down some of those things, right? It's easy for somebody to tell you over the phone or over text or whatever the case may be that they don't want to work with you. It's a lot harder in person to say, hey, you know what, this person's got value, and they told you, kind of try to brush you off, and you kept at it, which means that it shows your persistence, right? Just a simple act of you saying, yeah, I can certainly understand that. And if you don't use me, it's not, but I still want to help you get that home. So I'd love to kind of just meet with you and see if I can help you find it, and just get past it. But one of the things I told Victoria was, if you have a buyer and you can at least get that buyer, $1 million buyer who doesn't want to use a buyer's agent, to tell you where he wants to buy, right? Because he said he lost the deal. Well, he must like that neighborhood. Hey, is this a neighborhood you're looking in? Fantastic. And then go to that neighborhood with an offer from that guy in your hand or a contract in your hand and say, look, I have somebody looking to buy right now in this neighborhood. And I lost the offer on the property down the street out of curiosity, for the right price, would you be willing to sell your home? Or do you know anybody in the neighborhood that would? For a $1 million buyer, if you're able to get, a listing or get that property for him, and double end the deal or just get a listing out of it, I think that would be super valuable. So let's talk about it a little bit. All right. So out of curiosity, those who've set up a listing appointment, are you guys prepping your clients prior to going to the meeting as to what to expect?
Yes.
Devin, tell me some of the things that you tell them, some of the things you ask them.
I pretty much, if anyone knows, I go through a kind of a skeleton script of Mike Fury. So it's honestly, there's pre-qualifying questions, just what their expectations are. I throw in some of my own questions about their thoughts, feelings, past experiences. So have you listed a home before is an important question. How'd that experience go? What are your expectations? What would you change about the next one? So I kind of know what their mentality is on it. How long do you think it would take to sell your home? If we go past that time frame, what does that mean for you? What happens if we don't sell it in that time frame? So I kind of get a scenario of their own knowledge, none of mine. So I don't really need to tell them how it's personal for understanding theirs of it. So that's kind of my first approach of finding out and prepping them. And I let them know that based on personality of DISC, I'll determine how long it should take. So if they're more analytical, I know how long it takes me to present something to an analytical versus if they're amiable. I tell them, no, our meeting should take anywhere from about 20 to 25 minutes. Is that okay with you? And most people are like, yeah, fine. If it takes that, they don't really know how long it should take, but I kind of throw out a time frame so that way they know. And we usually done a video, so they know what I look like, how I sound, how long it should take, and then I have all their feelings about it.
Okay. So do you have that document that you can share with the group with those questions?
Yep.
Okay. So put that in the Davos team chat, but prior to getting, what do you think are some important things? So like, okay, you get somebody on the phone, right? And you're going to set up an appointment, and before the appointment, what are some things that you might want to prep them for before getting to the home, before getting there, right? Because a lot of that stuff you said, Devin, I would think you can get a lot of those questions in person once you're there too. Maybe you don't go through that whole script, prior to setting the appointment, right? You save some of those for in person, but prior to going to that appointment, what do you think is something that, either you should ask or tell, the person that you're going on a listing appointment? And this can be anybody answering. No wrong answers here, just shoot them out.
I know for me, I would see what other houses were for sale in the neighborhood.
Okay.
And kind of give them an idea of how long it's taken the houses to sell in comparison to their house. So they would have an idea of kind of maybe what the market was like a little more. And some had an idea, some didn't.
Okay. Once again, that's good. And I think that's definitely something that, most of the time I say for the in-person, right? So let me just give you some things, just some basic things that I think that you should ask some people before you take the meeting. Number one is, does anybody else need to be there? That's a decision maker, Okay. So, you know, you're taking the time to set up a meeting, say, hey, are you the only person making the decision about whether to sell the home or not? Or is there a partner, spouse, you know, roommate, friend, anybody that needs to be there that would have a, you know, would be a person making a decision, would have an impact on the decision. So, you know, I want to make sure that when you guys go there, you're talking to all the right people, right? So we can skip steps, right? So if the wife can't be there and she has to be there to sign a listing agreement, then maybe you schedule it for when that you can both be there. But just ask them that question, right? Because just out of curiosity. And if they tell you, hey, you know, I just want to meet you first, you know, my wife's not going to be here, but I, you know, whatever, don't fight it. I'm just saying, if you have a chance to get the decision makers in the room, then do it, because that takes you one step closer to getting a valid listing agreement signed. You know, another thing that you might tell them to be prepared for, that we ran into, Alexa and I, you know, you might be telling them to be prepared for, you know, hey, do you happen to know the amount of HOA that you paid? Do you have one of the pay stubs for your HOA? Go ahead and have that ready as well. I'd love to take a look at that when we're there. You could ask them for any other documentation they might have on the home, such as a survey or anything like that. You know, hey, do you happen to have an existing appraisal on the home or a survey that you can have prepared or ready for me to take a look at when I get there? That's another thing you can ask them. And another thing you might want to ask them is say, hey, you know, when I get there, I'd love to kind of know, you know, any upgrades that you've done to the home. So if there's no upgrades, no problem. But if there are some upgrades, I'd love to have a little list of some of the upgrades that you've made to the property. What's cool about asking these kind of prep questions too, it just makes you seem smarter, right? It makes you seem like you care a lot more and that you're really researching this thing, that you're not taking the meeting lightly and you're not there to waste the person's time. So those are just some kind of questions. And by the way, you can do this through a BombBomb video too, to remind them as well, right? So, hey, super excited about our meeting tomorrow. Just want to let you know, just want to remind you once again that I want to make sure that everybody who's going to make any decisions would be in the room. You know, if you have an HOA stub, you know, please bring that and any list of upgrades that I will be taking a look through, you know, so you can do that through BombBomb video. Okay. So that's number one. I'm going to share my screen now. And we're going to go into some the actual mechanics of this. So, number one, guys, make sure I'm actually logged in here. So you guys can see my screen, right?
Yes, we can. Yes, I can.
All right. So number one is, I've taught this before, but I don't know if you guys have done it or not, but remember that you can create your own display. So one of the things obviously you're going to want to do when you go, I mean, the most important thing really to have your knowledge is the comp, right? You have to know what you believe the property to be worth, and you have to have analyzed the neighborhood and what's going on in the neighborhood prior to going. Doesn't mean we have to have the final number, but we should have a number in our head and be able to look at their home when we're there and kind of make a judgment call on where we need to price this home. So one thing that I always talk about is going into your My Matrix and actually creating a comp display, a display that actually displays the things that you want to see. We don't have to necessarily get into all of it, but I'm going to show you mine, right? So you go into My Matrix, you go into summary, okay? And then you go into settings, okay? When you go into settings, go here into custom displays, okay? And when I say displays, this is what you see in that single line display. But, you know, they have some default ones that give you a list of a bunch of information. And I like to, when I'm comping, I want to see the stuff that I find to be the most important thing, right? So you could see that I have one called Bob's Comp Display right here. And then if you want to create something new, you just create a new one, right? Like if you want to add a display, you just create a display. Mine is already created, so I'm just going to press edit so you can kind of see my my categories that I put in there. So what'll happen is when you create the display, you'll see that you can actually put whatever columns you want, like any piece of information, right? And as I've shown you guys, as I've shown you guys before, you can actually, this is a great way to put up information on agents too. Like if I wanted to pull up emails and phone numbers for agents, I've got an agent display right? Where I'm just pulling up their name, phone numbers, and emails in case I want to mass email every agent that sold a property in that neighborhood because I'm about to list one in there, right? Or things like that. So you can use this, the search tool for different things. But as you can see, I just look up the things that I want, right? And then I go add them to this side. So, you know, if I wanted to put in, let's say condo fee, I would just press add and then it would move it over to a column, right? So I could see the things that I wanted, but I've already got the things that I want here for my comp display. I won't bore you with these up here, but you want the link so you can actually add the ML number link so you can actually click on the listing, the status, the address, city, SIP, and then I focus on heated area, beds, baths, closed price, list price, sold price per square foot, which is what I use as, you know, one of the easy or the main indicators to me to start playing around with numbers when I'm looking at houses that are different sizes. Is the sold price per square foot. List price per square foot gives me some of that, but remember it's list, it hasn't sold yet. So the best indicator is sold, year built, lot size, pool or no pool, and then how many days it's been on the market, right? So I've already created this display. Okay. So I just let you know, you can do this and you can do this for all these criteria. So you can have a custom display for whatever you want. And you can do that. So let me get out of there. And then I actually saved the search that we did, Alexis. So I'm gonna talk to them about your property. So we're gonna comp the property. I'm gonna go to my saved searches, which, as you know, you can save your searches. So if I ever wanted to do a comp live for somebody, like if somebody's like, oh, I want to see how you kind of got that, or, you know, Devin, like you said, you're dealing with like a C personality, they would love to see this, right? They would love to see how you looked at the stuff, right? So for me, I did, you know, I would save this. So when I was in their house, I wouldn't have to redo the comp search. It would just save the search and I just pull up the search and show them what I'm looking at. Okay. So let me see. Did I name it Alexis Comp? I forgot what I named. Here it is. Comp.
No, you named it. Yeah, there you go. Mhm.
Okay, so here's my search, right? And then I can actually go into the results of this search. So I've already got it saved, and I can go in there and show them what we looked up, right? So
I love that the contact name is the franchise, Bobby.
I knew once you saw me, that's what you're looking at.
What's that?
I love the contact name is the franchise.
Yeah, the franchise. That's me. So see, you can do your own names in here, guys. It's all customizable. So real quick to kind of go over, you know, what we do as far as criteria is concerned. So first and foremost, for you guys when it comp, I like to keep the criteria broad at first so that I don't get too specific and not have enough sales to look at, right? So usually I do active, pending, and sold, right? And it's usually 180. In this particular case, I expanded it to 365 because I had found 2 solds in her square footage range in the community, and I wanted a little bit more. And I felt like if I could expand it to a year of sales, I'd find a few more, and we did. We found a couple more. Okay. Special sales provision, I click none. Okay. Meaning I don't want to see properties that are bank owned, short sale, REO, because they're typically going to be priced a little bit lower and maybe not at market price. Okay. Although there's not a ton of those anymore, but at some point they'll come back. And then that's property style, right? I don't want to compare condos to houses, townhomes to condos, vice versa. I want to look at single families if mine's a single family. So went ahead and click that. All I do on this side usually is I will put a range of the square footage heated. So I don't even break it down to rooms yet. We might do that if I get like, if I have a 3-2 and I find that there's 10 3-2s for sale in the neighborhood, you know, I don't necessarily need to look at anything that's not a 3-2 because I got a good gauge on what the 3-2s are selling for. But usually what I do is I take a range of whatever the square footage is of my home heated square footage. I subtract 20%. That's my low range, right? So in this case, I think it was 1,600. Alexa, oh, she's talking. So I think it was 1,600 to, let's say 2,500. I won't put it in here because I left it out for some reason. So, so that would be a range that you would that you would be looking at, versus, your home, right? So you're only looking at homes that are close to your price range, because once properties get too far out of your square footage range, the price per square foot goes all over the place. Okay. So I usually do a range 20% below, 20% above the square footage. This particular case, I'll take it out because I did it for a reason when we were looking at this stuff. Okay. So then I go to the map. Okay. And up here where it says jump to address, I put the address of my listing or my potential listing. Just FYI, because you haven't listed it yet, your property is not going to show up on here. So you do need to get the specs for the property prior, right? Which I usually use IMAP. Okay. I usually use IMAP to find the property. And then I look at, the beds, the baths, the heated square footage, the year built, things like that. Does it have a pool? Those kind of things. And that's all here in the public record in IMAP. So I know what I'm looking at prior to doing this comp search. Okay. So I put the address of my property in the jump to address, and it'll zoom right in to where my neighborhood is. Ideally, guys, you want to stay in the same neighborhood, right? So you see where I drew this shape. That was just to catch this neighborhood right here, right? Because that's where the homes are at, right? I mean, if I expand it out wider, of course, I'm going to catch the neighborhood next door. But what if the neighborhood next door was built 20 years, or is 20 years newer? Like, it's just not going to give me the same kind of quality of comp that I would if I stayed in the neighborhood. And sure enough, I found plenty of them within a year sold in this neighborhood, right? Look at all these solds. Now, the crazy thing is you don't see any actives right now, do you? Right? So what does that mean? What do you think that means for us?
Zero competition.
What's that?
Zero competition.
Zero competition. Is that good or bad?
Good. The demand's high.
That's great.
That's great, right? Because the minute this thing pops up, hey, we got plenty of sales. People want to live here, right? But there's no inventory for them right now. The minute that Alexis pops this property up on the market, it should go, right? We have no competition. We're in the hottest market ever. It's fantastic. Okay, so we've got our comps. We got our comps in here, okay? And then we go to the results. Okay. So once again, and then by the way, if your neighborhood is a weird shape, like I was able to catch these properties here. Let me delete this shape. So obviously there's sales everywhere. I just want the ones in here. Now it was easy to catch that with a rectangle shape, but if you ever have to have a weird shape of a neighborhood, because I don't want to get like all the things in these other neighborhoods, I could just draw a polygon here. I just click this polygon shape and I just go boom, boom, boom. And I grab all these. Okay. So same thing. So now let's take a look at the results. Now notice that the default, like the search display will usually, like a normal agent single line will look like this. Right? Has a whole bunch of stuff, subdivision name. I'm scrolling here. Like it's a lot. That's the reason I tell you guys to do your own display, because you're able to look at the things you want to look at. So the minute I go here to my drop-down box, I go to Bob's comp display, which you guys saw me create already. And now I'm just looking at the stuff that I want to look at. Okay. So
Hey, Bobby, out of curiosity.
Yeah.
Wouldn't the subdivision name be important just so that you can make sure that the houses are in that same area, or the map just does that for you?
Yeah, no, it's a good column. Like I said, put the columns that you want to see in there. I was pretty confident we were in the same neighborhood there. And if I had a question, I could look at the listing, but no, it's not a bad thing to put. I just didn't, it's not important enough to me to put in it. Cause like the problem with all the other columns is I like to see most of the stuff that I want to see like on the first screen rather than having to scroll all the way. So, but no, that's not a bad thing to do at all. Put the subdivision name in there to make sure that all part of the same subdivision. So we're taking a look at this. Your property, was how many square feet? Alexis, was it 2062?
Yes, 2062.
2062. Okay, so we were looking at all these properties, and what'll happen is and hers was a 4.3, I believe. So I had one extra bedroom. Most of these are 3 bedrooms. There's one 4.4 that sold for 900.
4.2.
It's a 4.2. Okay.
Yeah.
So this property here, this 960 is obviously an anomaly, right? Like something's different there. Okay. So that's weird. If you're looking at the information here, guys, what do you already see that's different from our property versus this one?
Significantly newer and bigger.
There you go. Right? Go ahead. You said something, Devin?
Probably on the lake.
Probably on the lake. What makes you think that?
From the map view.
From the map view. See, he's already picking up clues. Another thing you might notice is that it's on 0.45 acres, right? The other ones are hovering around a 1/4 acre or less for the most part. So it's almost a 1/2 acre. It's a 4.4. It's bigger. It's a lot bigger here. And he thinks it's going to be on the lake. So let's take a look, see if he's right. So sure enough, it's house on the lake, right? It's just not even comparable to what we're talking about here. I mean, this is just a nice monster home. And it's weird. It is in the same neighborhood, but it was just a weird neighborhood where, it has this lake and everything like that. So, so that's not going to be a good comparable for us. That's not what we're looking at. So ideally that one's cut out, right? And then I'm looking at the other ones. Here's one here that's a 3.3, very close to our square footage. Okay. And this is what I'm looking at. Do you see this column, sold price per square foot? This is when I start playing around with the numbers, right? I start using sold price per square foot because this allows me to compare properties that are different sizes, right? So let's take a look at this property to see, because it seems like it's sold for, compared to all the sold prices per square foot. Let's just leave this 256 out because we know that that's that lake house, okay? But we've got some properties in here that are selling for 240 a square foot, 200 a square foot, 177, 183. And here's this one at 148. So that in itself is kind of an anomaly, right? It seems low for what I'm seeing in the neighborhood. So I got to find out why it's low, and I probably won't necessarily use that. Or I might use it as a comp to prove my point, but it seems a little bit low. So looking in here, let's take a look at this one. It spent 3 days on the market, sold for 324.9, and it's very close to our square footage range. So I'll look at this property and I'll start looking at the inside, right? Okay. It's not, particularly updated, but it ain't terrible. It looks pretty clean, nice single family home. So I'm getting an idea, right? Of no upgrades on the countertops. Old school appliances. Looks like new carpet. It's clean. No pool or anything. Just a nice little area and that's it, right? So I'm taking a look at this and thinking to myself, well, it's just not updated. It's the same size, but I don't know what mine looks like yet, right? And then I'll look down here, and I usually like to take a look at what the original price was that they started, right? In this case, it sold in 3 days, so they probably wouldn't have lowered the price much. But sometimes if a property stays on the market for a long time, I will look at this original price and see, oh, yeah, they priced it way high. They backed off on the price, and that's why it stayed on the market for so long, okay? Another thing I look at too is you see where it says seller credit here, okay? I just make sure that it actually sold for 324.9 because sometimes there's a $5,000 credit, meaning it sold closer to 320, right? So I look at that to make sure that I'm being really accurate about my price per square foot. Okay, so now I got a gauge of what sold for 324.9 in the neighborhood, okay? So let's go back to the single line display. That was one that was very, very close to my square footage, but I find this, what's interesting, you guys tell me, what do you guys find interesting about this one here?
The 240. It's smaller with a significantly larger sale per square foot.
It better impress me.
What's that?
It better impress me.
Model.
It's the smallest and sold for 360 or 340.
That's right. Exactly right. So to me, I'm like, oh wow, this one's about 600-700 square foot less than mine, sold for 340. You know, and then it's at 240 a square foot. Now, I will warn you that you have to take into account the fact that this is considerably smaller than ours, and then this square footage, this 240 a square foot being right, because as the square footage of the property drops, usually this price per square foot goes up. That's why I don't like to look at properties that aren't. So this one actually would have fallen out of my range. If I would have gone 1,600 square feet and 2,600 square feet, like I would have done before, that one wouldn't have even showed up. Okay. Because it's not really a great comparable for mine, price per square foot wise, but it's a 3.2, mine's a 4.2. And it's sold for 340. So it makes me feel pretty decent about, you know, where mine could be. But let's take a look at this one. I just want to see what kind of shape it's in. Okay.
Hi, Bobby. Quick question.
Yeah.
Does the date that it sold matter?
Yes.
Okay.
But I've only got as far as, so typically, so when you go back into criteria, okay, typically when I do this, it's 6 months already in there, right? 0 to 180, this will be 0 180. The minute you click sold, active, pending, and sold, 0 to 180 will come up. So you should be within a 6 month range. You're going to be your most accurate. In this particular case, when I first pulled this up, so if I were to pull this up, so let's say I go 0 to 180, okay, 6 months. Okay, so I'm never going to I'm not trying to go back farther than 6 months if I don't have to. But when I look at my map view, you know, I have these 3 sales and I wanted to see if there were some more sales. So that's why I expanded it to a year, and I wanted to see what's been happening in the past year. So that's why I went back here and changed this to 365. So it does matter. Absolutely. I'm not looking at stuff 2 years ago, 4 years ago, or all time for any reason. Right. But I'm not sure that, you know, if it's sold in April versus May and things like that, I don't look that granular into it, whether it's sold a month or two, but I try to keep it within 6 months. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, that was my question, because, you know, every month it seems that home values are going up by, you know, like 5,000-10,000 each month. So are we getting specific to what's been changing every month, or we're just seeing overall the changes?
Yeah. Overall, 6 months should be good. I mean, look, at the end of the day too, remember that appraisals have to catch up, you know? And so, you know, things are changing and prices are going up, but at the end of the day, this is the sold data, you know, this is what's sold, you know, in the neighborhood. So, and this is what an appraiser is going to look at, what's sold, right? So this tends to be decently accurate if you do it right. You know, there's always an element right now of the fact that people are willing to pay more for properties, but the price in a neighborhood for appraisals won't go up unless somebody actually pays cash over appraised value for a property, which is happening a lot now, right? So it's starting to push the prices up. But yeah, it's a weird market. You definitely are more susceptible to price increases month to month. So keep that in your mind as you price things out. We did that when we talk about the appointment with Alexis. You know, you'll see that I adjusted what I had told her prior to going there. And I went up a little bit because I felt like with the market and the condition of the property that they were going to be able to get it. So this is an art and a science, just so you know. I'm not telling you that the number is absolutely, you know, infallible, like this is it, the number, but we can start looking at some different things. So that one there at 340 just at least lets me know that the reason I wanted to take a look at that was because besides this 960 that sold, which is not our home, not even in the ballpark, it's not what we're measuring it on, but all the rest of the normal properties in this neighborhood, the highest thing that is sold is 340. I like to call that the neighborhood threshold, right? So to me, I'm like, okay, that's kind of, I'm on the top line there. You know what I mean? So be very careful of going way over the top line, because, you know, that's what people are willing to pay to live in that neighborhood. Now, like you said, it's a crazy market. So, you know, don't take that hook, line, and sinker. But I like to know, like, what's the most a property can go for in this neighborhood? Well, looks like for the normal property, 340 is the highest it's gone up. So just a good thing to know. Okay, so now looking at these other properties. Okay, so this one for 1,600 did fall into kind of the same, you know, the same square footage range as 3.3. It sold for $200 a square foot. Okay, so I'll take a look at that one real quick, and then we'll go into. So that one's pretty decent. Definitely has upgraded countertops. So this is probably one of the more upgraded ones that we saw from the other comps. Okay. Ours has an actually really nice outdoor area. Looks like a pretty big lot too. 0.35. So it's an oversized lot. Looks like it went under, looks like there's a combined days on market, 7 to 17 days, sold pretty quickly, sold price 330. Remember, I like to go down here and see if there's a seller credit. Okay, no seller credit. They started at 340, they lowered it to 330, and then it sold. Okay, so when we looked at this, I basically looked at what was going on here, and we started playing around with some numbers, and we started to say, okay, well, let's take a look at this one that sold for 183 a square foot. That one looks really well maintained. And I think we just started playing around with some numbers, and I think we came up with around 180 a square foot, and say, hey, let's just see what, you know, her square footage is at 180 a square foot, because it sounds like 148 is a little low for the neighborhood, 240 is a little bit high. Let's look at 180 a square foot and see where we were at. So somebody tell me at 180 a square foot with her square footage range of 2,062, where we come up to.
371, 160.
Can you confirm that, Brandon?
Yes, that's confirmed.
Okay. So 371, even at 180 a square foot, right? We're at, you know, 371. We kind of know that, you know, this 340 was the highest that sold before. 371 seemed a little bit high for the neighborhood, right? Doesn't mean that in this market we couldn't get it, but it is what it is. So, you know, this one here, it's at 177 a square foot. I think this one was I think this was one of the nicer ones. Let me see. Yeah, this one's pretty upgraded. Okay. So this one sold for 177 a square foot. Do it at Jason, do it at 170 a square foot.
$350, 54.
354.
Or 350, 540.
Okay. So when we looked at this, we thought to ourselves, okay, well, we got this property here. We haven't seen it yet, but ours is a little bit bigger. We know that the price with this 148, I don't like it. Ours is bigger than this. Probably price per square foot drops a little bit. These are in really nice shape. We don't know what our property's in shape, but we do know that there's kind of a threshold of 340 right now in the neighborhood. Before going to this appointment, we were thinking that, hey, look, with that extra bedroom, you know, let's go ahead and put it at 349.9, right below the 350 mark. We're selling it higher, so we're taking into account, Victoria, the fact that these prices are going up in the neighborhood and people are willing to pay more for the house. We're keeping it just under the 350 mark. And that's the number we had in our head going in. Okay. So what we did was this, what I like to do. And so I'm going to just give you, there's a million ways to do this, but I keep it very, very simple. Okay. So we did our comps, we save our search. If they want to see this live, we'll do it live. Right. But what I'll do is I will take the comps that I think are the ones that are helping me sell my case. Right. So, you know, if I wanted to take these three comps here, right? There's one that's his square footage is sold for $324.9, but a low price per square foot. 18. All these are a little bit smaller. We could maybe take this one into consideration, the 1647 at 330. This 414, I believe, is too small for us to compare at high price per square foot. But you know, at least I know that the neighborhood threshold is 340. So what you can do is this, and this is the part that you can bring something that has some kind of, you know, some thickness to it. It's pretty, something to present. Because a lot of you guys, you know, you can obviously bring your listing presentation from the EXP Marketing Center or whatever. But if you want to just go bare bones, come in here, right? Set it up right. Do your research. I'd print out these comps. Okay. So I print out the comps. And then when I print these out, okay, I actually circle a bunch of stuff on them, right? So if I'm printing this out, I'll circle it's a 3-2. I'll circle how many days it took to sell. I'll circle maybe the list price, the square footage, things like that, and anything else in this listing that I think is worth talking about. Like if this said that there was a new roof put on in 2020, I'd circle that. That's important because that's going to add value to the house, right? And you can find all that in the descriptions. You know, if there was any seller credit given, I'd explain that to them as well. You know, if somebody was like, oh, if that spent a long time on the market. So I love using properties that spent a long time on the market in the neighborhood and then going down to where they overpriced it to their original price and explaining to them why you don't want to do that. Right. So here's a perfect example. This one's not a good example, but let's say this was at 350 and they ended up selling it at 312. Right. And it spent, 78 days on the market. Then I could circle that and say, hey, look, you know, I know you want to sell this property for a lot higher, but look what happened to the person here. They started here at, 350. And, you can even go into the history of the property here. Right. And get the history information. And this is what happened. Right. Hey, they put it on the market at 350. They dropped it. Finally, they ended up selling it for, 308, And so it's a good way to like just explain to them what's happening in the neighborhood. It makes you look super smart. So number one is I print all these out and I circle everything that's important about these listings so I can explain to them on a one-to-one level. Now, the way you can make this real pretty to have another thing to look at is you do something called the Cloud CMA. Okay. So I click on the four listings that I want to do, and I just click on this Cloud CMA. Okay. And it brings you to, and you can customize this Cloud CMA. You can take pages out, whatever the case may be. I'm just going to do this one real quick. So if I were to pull that, right, I could put the client's name in here. Okay. I put the property address in here, the beds, baths, all that, fill it in. If you by chance got a cover photo for their house, you can drop it in here and it'll actually have their house on the front of this package, right? So it looks really customized, really personable, right? And all you have to do is click fetch listings and it's going to pull, these are the listings I clicked right here. It's going to pull them all in. Now I've already done this one. Let's see. Let's just do this one. Let's just do this as a test CMA and just publish it. So I'm going to fetch the listings. Address can't be blank. So it's going to have, I'll just press publish. You guys can customize it here and take pages in and out. But now you can see, you'll be able to see what it looks like.
Bobby, what
Yeah.
view do you publish or print? Do you do broker view or?
For the comps?
Yeah.
Okay. So for the comps, because I do want to see, so whenever you're showing property, I do the customer synopsis, one page PDF. Okay. For this, I would do the one page broker synopsis because I actually want to be able to show them the original price, the seller credit and all that stuff. And that stuff would be left out of the customer synopsis. Does that make sense?
Okay. Just making sure.
Yeah. So let's take a quick look at what this looks like. And once again, you can take some pages out, right? So it'll do this. It'll it'll say prepared for whoever your client is. If you put their client in there, it has like an introductory letter, all that stuff. I usually take all this crap out, right? And I just start with this page right here with all my information.
Who's that guy?
Who's this guy?
That looks older.
Oh my God, it's so old. It's like, this is a lot of years ago. So it's cool because it shows you where all the listings are in the neighborhood, right? Where their property is. And it shows like whether active, pending, and sold. I only pick sold, the property addresses, the price, and it actually breaks it down to like average square footages, average lot size, and average price at 320, right? I don't necessarily use it for this because I already have my number in my head. What I like about this is it shows all the pictures of the comps. So when I'm trying to express to somebody that, hey, that house on Burkett is way updated, let me show you the pictures. Then I'll refer to this Cloud CMA. Plus the Cloud CMA is like this thick and it just looks super professional. I mean, it looks like this. So you can leave this with them. You can just have it there. I don't just go busting it out. I just leave it right next to me. Sometimes, guys, listing appointments are way easier than you think, right? You don't have to do a whole song and dance. I don't do a song and dance for the sake of doing a song and dance. Like if I go through my comps and I'm showing him one-on-one of the comps, he's like, dude, I trust you. That's kind of what I thought it was. Let's just get this thing done. I ain't doing none of this other shit. I bring this for the people who really like stuff, right? They want to know that you did something, right? And this is thick package. I mean, it's got pictures of all the properties, explanations, breakdowns, sold price averages, list price averages, price per square foot averages at 178
days on market.
So it's just a great tool to have. Has, like I said, a bunch of this extra stuff here. I don't necessarily leave a lot of this stuff in here, but isn't that pretty cool? You just print out the comps, your numbers, right? You have your saved search on your computer for those C personalities if you want to go look and see what you're looking at, right? And show them how smart you are. And then you've got your Cloud CMA. And I'm prepared. Like, I know when I'm going in there, I know my stuff, blah, 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 and that's good. Now,
yeah, you can customize that report and take out a lot of those filler pages. And I take out all that shit.
Right. So if I press customize here, yeah, I take out like 20% of that shit. So, they got a new modern theme, but like, you could take out, all this different stuff. If you want to like take this stuff out, you can move it around, the title page, the cover letter, edit, whatever. You can do all sorts of stuff in here. So these are all the different sections. And you can literally, if you want to just get rid of it, like I don't need a cover letter, boom, done. Take it out, customize it, and it'll look good. Okay. So real quick, I'm just going to give you, cause it's already 3:00. So do you guys have any questions on this first part? Does this all make some sense to you? Okay, good. So I'm going to give you kind of a 4-step process for your listing appointment. That'll be super simple. Don't overcomplicate this. Number 1, me and Alexis just asked him for the tour, right? The guy came out front. He told us he had some big fucking dog. He had some big dogs in it, Alexis. Had fucking Rottweiler and a German Shepherd,
yeah.
It was a Rottweiler and a German Shepherd, and I asked him specifically, are they friendly? He's like, well, as long as you come in with me. I'm like, great. But the Rottweiler fell in love with me, didn't he, Alexis?
Oh my gosh, yes.
The Rottweiler liked me. But anyway, you're gonna run into. By the way, guys, you don't know what the fuck you're gonna get into when you come to somebody else. Like, you have no idea. So just use it as an adventure. Like I try not to overthink it. I come in there with my mind wide open. I've seen everything from, pictures of naked men all over the wall to Rottweilers to like, I mean, it's just crazy, right? But you meet great people. And honestly, this person that me and Alexis met was a great dude. Former Marine, just awesome dude, worked for the VA for many years, got his story. It was just about getting to know the guy. So real friendly, walk up to the house. He walks us in. We actually, the first thing we start with is the tour. So before we even went into the house, I'm like, hey, tell me about the outside of the house, right? So tell me about this. I asked him about the roof. I asked him about the AC. I had Alexis with her notepad and she's writing everything down, right? The roof was 7 years old. The AC just got replaced 7 years ago too. All this stuff. He's walking me around the house. What's cool about the tour is you don't have to figure out what to say, right? Hey, before we get started, tell me everything about the house. Give me the tour. Give me the grand tour. And you just let them talk. And they're talking. And I mean, this guy loved to tell stories. I mean, telling stories about this, telling stories about that. We're laughing about stuff. I mean, ask Alexis. I was in the guy's closet. We found he's like, hey, here's my bourbon collections. This is where I keep the good stuff. I'm like, oh, you know, and I'm like up there, like walking up to the bottles and stuff like that. 15 minutes later, the guy's offering me his bourbon and we're having a drink together, right? It's like,
he's better than, I swear, Bobby, I swear you are better than me, because listen, I would not drink anything. Because I think I watched too many movies growing up, and I'm like, oh my God, he's gonna put some shit in this damn drink. And so yeah, no. And then here's Bobby drinking some fucking whiskey and so drinking water and shit. I'm like, Lord, please don't let this man die. And I don't have my gun on me.
You thought
Yeah, Bobby was. I swear, because the backyard is like a whole bunch of plants and shit, and I'm like, okay, maybe they feed human bodies to the dogs, and then they like bury, like, I watched too many movies growing up.
Damn.
Yo, listen, for real. So I'm like, okay, I'm with Bobby. I'm good. And Bobby's just chilling, super freaking natural. And we get to the table, and I'm here like pulling the shit out the freaking folder. And he's just looking at me. He's like, nah. And I'm like, oh, okay. And he's just like talking away and shit. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm just trying to get the paper signed, and Bobby is just super natural and just chilling, talking and stuff. I loved it.
Well, look, it all comes with a lot of repetitions, right? That's what you guys do. You got to understand, like I said, I come in there, I don't know what the hell I'm going to get. So I'm wide open, man. You know, here's a good part about the tour, guys, you'll get to know who they are, right? So use the tour as an easy icebreaker. Okay. You don't have to, if they're doing all the talking, you're asking questions. Have your notepad out, write out any upgrades, write out any things that are new, any things that need to be fixed, blah, blah, blah. You're asking questions, you're laughing, whatever. If I had noticed that this guy was a D personality, wanted to get right to the point, you know what I'm saying? Then that's what I would have done. I would know that after the tour, because they're going to do a lot of talking and you're going to ask some questions during the tour. So make it easy on yourself. Do the tour. We walked around the whole house. Took us about 20 minutes. It wasn't a big house either. We just kept going in rooms and, he's explaining stuff and dude, that's where their relationship is built. Right. So, and no, I'm not like Alexis and think the absolute worst. I actually put the least amount of energy in the worst thing that could happen. Alexis is like, okay, we're going to wake up tomorrow and walking funny. No, we're not doing that. Okay. I think I come out there thinking I'm getting a listing. Okay. That's what I'm thinking about. So number one is a tour. So then we sat down at the table, and what Alexis was referring to is Alexis. See, I had already picked up that this guy was a people person. Like, he really connects with people. He was really loving Alexis and myself. We were having a good time chatting, and Alexis immediately started to pull out paperwork, right? Like after the tour. And I was just like, yo, chill. Cause I had noticed that during the tour, after the tour, I said, hey, let's find a table to sit down and let's talk about the process or whatever. He's like, oh, you guys are ready to talk about that? Almost like he wasn't actually expecting that we were going to sign paperwork that day. So that's another great prep. So just say, hey, that might be another prep question. Just so you know, I'm going to have all the paperwork ready when I get there. So if we get done talking and we want to work with each other, we're going to be prepared to sign a document today. Cause I could tell he wasn't really prepared. He thought we would just kind of get to know us. So I was like, okay, cool. So I told her to chill out, and we just sat there and he talked and told us stories and we chilled out, blah, blah, blah. And then eventually we got to talking about the home. And the next thing is, so step one's a tour. When you sit down at the table, so what's your goals? What's your goals with the property? How do you see this playing out? Let's get a picture of what they're expecting. When do they want to be out? How do they want this to work? Would they like to sell it by a certain time? You know, are they going to be staying in the house, not staying in the house? Let's get to know exactly what they want, blah, blah, blah. And as they're telling me everything they want, I'm starting to craft a strategy. You know, how do we do this? How do we get this person exactly what they want? Okay. In this particular case, he wanted to do some work to the property, right? To paint, he wanted to repaint. I actually gave him a bunch of stuff to do, but I'll talk to you about that in a second. But he was very willing to paint and do minor repairs. He really wanted the house to be great for the next person, which let me know a lot about him as character wise. So I really liked that about him. Okay. And I let him know that, hey, by the way, I can appreciate that a lot, man. The fact that you take so much care in your property that you would want to fix all these things for the next owner tells me a lot about who you are. Right. So I say things like that to people because I notice it, man. I'm like, that's really cool, man. Number 3 is expectations. What are their So out of curiosity, what are your expectations of me? How would you like for me to communicate? How would you like our relationship to unfold? Right. So what are they expecting from their agent? They're going to tell you exactly what they want and what they need from their agent so that you can tell them that you're going to do all those things for them. So if I heard you right, you want an agent, you want me to communicate with you on a weekly basis, let you know what's going on, make sure that that I follow up with you anytime we get this, this stuff. You want me to check in with you before I schedule an open house, and to make sure that this process is smooth and simple for you and as seamless as possible. Is that right? Yeah, that's exactly right. Great. I'm prepared to do that for you. And then what's your expectations of the process? Ask them just what their expectations are so you can make sure you meet the expectations or you curb expectations. Okay. I also ask expectations about what they think the property, out of curiosity. And I've already done I always say, I already done the research. I've got a number in my head. Now I've seen your home. I've got a good range, but where do you see this property selling for? What's the price you were thinking about? And when they tell me, I ask them how they came up with it, right? Yeah, out of curiosity, how did you kind of come up with that? Well, this property is sold for this, that, I think it should be. So he actually came up with he's like, well, my friend told me that he thinks I could sell this for I think he said 440, Alexis. He said 440, maybe, definitely 400.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, cool.
His friend who dabbles in real estate.
Yeah, his friend who dabbles in real estate told him that. So I said, okay, that I could certainly understand that. But once again, I'm not trying to fight him. I'm aligning. Hey, this is a crazy market. There is a possibility somebody could offer that. However, I've done some numbers and I want to go over them with you and then kind of explain my strategy. And then I explained to him the strategy and I said, look, prior to coming here today, I was going to actually tell you to price it at $349.9, but your home actually shows really well. And I know you're going to repaint and you're going to do these different things. So I'm willing to adjust that on the upside. I think we might be pushing it at $375. The highest thing that sold in the neighborhood so far that's even close to your home was at $340. I was already willing to price it higher than that because I think you got something great here. Plus you have an extra bedroom and I am taking that into consideration. And then the lady that was there with him was like, well, maybe, what would you think about selling it for $360? And I was like, okay, now that's a reasonable number. So I was like, you know what? After looking at this, I think you might be right on the money. I think that we put this on the market for $359.9, right? I think you are actually, I think this house is really nice. It's got the extra bedroom and the market's pretty crazy right now. And, even at $359, Jason, I mean, that keeps us right in the pocket price per square foot wise. So now I'm not kind of too concerned about the appraisal. And then I said, and then I eased his fears about, and just so you know, that doesn't mean it can't go higher than that, right? But the thing you don't want to do is overshoot the landing. Undershooting the landing doesn't hurt you, right? You don't want to overprice a property because that's going to be nothing costs a seller more money than overpricing a property. And I can show you several examples of that. Okay. So we don't want to overprice it. And as I was explaining that to him, Alexis will recall, he's like, no, I get that. I get that concept. Like you don't want to be over. People are going through their searches. If they're qualified for 360, they're not looking at homes that are 400, and you don't want to miss out on that crowd. And he agreed with that. And I left there feeling pretty good that $359.9 was an acceptable price to him. And then finally, tell them a little bit something about what you think can be done with the property. So as we walked around, and he mentioned to me that we was going to do some fix-ups. Some people won't say anything about fix-ups, but you might need to tell them, right? Because when you went on that tour, you might need to tell them, hey, I noticed that, this little rotted piece of wood here on the front, if we could get that replaced, listen, I know how people think when they pull up to a property, and curb appeal is huge. And the minute they spot something, this is what they're going to think about that. So if it's an easy fix, we're going to get it done. And that's what I always explain to people. I say, look, I'm never going to make you do something that's super expensive that won't get your money back. But if we can spend a little bit of money to have a high return on the aesthetics, right? A high return on the way the property looks, could be some paint, could be replacing a little piece of wood here and there. I'm going to tell you to do it, because I know that it could cost you thousands of dollars not to do that, right? Because of the way that people are going to perceive the home because of that. So first is the tour. Second, what their goals are, expectations, things to do with the property. After expectations, though, if I'm seeing that we're on the same page, then we can actually start going straight into the paperwork. Or we could tell them about the property as well, things we want them to do to the property, and then get right into the paperwork, right? And just say, hey, and I asked him, I said, you've sold properties before, so you're familiar with the process? Yes. So, it's typical. There's a, the agent commission, their listing commission, there's a buyer's commission, all this kind of stuff. So just make sure they understand the process. That's a good question to ask. Hey, have you ever sold a property before? Oh yeah, I've sold. He said that he sold 4 of them. So he's not foreign to the commission thing, right? And then we just start explaining the listing agreement and the commission, and we do everything in our power not to ever drop our commission, right? So, oh, can we get a discount? Blah, blah, blah. We're like, look, this is too important. This is honestly, I know how much work is entailed, and this is too important of a sale for me to discount this and not pull my full attention on this property. That's why I don't do discount listings, because, at the end of the day, I want to put this as a top priority for me. And I don't want to give you, cut my commission by a third and give you a third less effort, because I'm going to have to do that if that's the case. That's why I don't even do it, because I like to do what I do at 100%. Okay. And I'm going to give you way more value than 6% that you're paying. By the way, you understand that I'm cooperating with another agent. So really what I'm getting is 3, but total 6% to you. I'm telling you, I'm going to deliver way more value than that. What I told Alexis was, if you get somebody who's just like push, like I have to have some kind of discount, whatever, the first thing I'll try is say, tell you what, if I don't get a contract with you in under 30 days, I'll drop the commission by 0.5%. How about that? Right? If I don't get you a contract in 30 days or less, I'll drop the commission by 0.5%. Guess what? Well, 1, I'm probably going to get a contract within 30 days if they follow my plan. Number 2 is I could always drop the buyer's agent's commission by 0.5%, right? So I'm still not getting rid of my 3. So that's like number 1, like if they're just pushing, you know what I'm saying? If they're like, oh no, this and that, well, I'll say, well, tell you what, we could do 2.5% for the buyer's agent, right? So that could drop 0.5% up front and then drop it to 2.5% for them. And you could always say something like, and if I double end this deal, I'll drop it to a 5% commission, right? So if I bring both buyer and seller, I'm gonna make sure you win when I win, and I'll drop it 1%. But at the end of the day, I don't want to do much more than that, right? The only other time that I might do that is if for some reason it's like a huge fucking deal, right? So $2 million deal, and I got to drop my commission a little bit, to get the deal. Plus, I think this guy's an incredible connection. He's a multimillionaire, has a ton of wealthy friends. There has to be some kind of extra thing for me to want to drop the commission. So I'm sorry I kept you guys late. I just wanted to kind of go through that whole process with you guys to understand, make you feel more comfortable, give you a repetition. Any more questions?
Does it change for like $1 million listings or anything like on the luxury, like $1 million plus?
The thing I would tell you is with those is just a perception of things, right? So you could bring stuff that's a little bit, a couple more brochures and things like that. But at the end of the day, we're doing the same shit, right? Like, I mean, I might come dressed way nicer, that I do. Hey, I'm going to $1 million listing. going in there. The thing with $1 million listings that you got to know is like when they start talking, well, what are you going to do? Are you going to do this bells and whistles? Like, look, the things that sell a property are still the same. There's only one kind of small difference that I see in luxury is that a lot of luxury agents are the ones that sell luxury homes. In other words, I'm going to reach out to all the other luxury agents that deal with luxury buyers because there's not that many as many luxury buyers in the market, right? And usually there's a very small crew of luxury agents that deal with most of these buyers. And I'm going to make sure that that's part of my marketing strategy is to actually speak to those luxury agents personally about what buyers they're having in the area. So, you know, I would mention that to them that I was like, look, I'm going to work my network of other luxury agents because at the end of the day, some of these deals are done way more discreetly. And a lot of these guys are already working with other buyers. So that's kind of the difference. But at the end of the day, if you want to put like a prettier folder, I mean, a lot of people spend stuff on like, you know, making nicer marketing material and things like that, which you can spend some time doing if you want the presentation to be great. But I feel like at the end of the day, if you talk straight to somebody and you know your numbers, you know what it takes to sell a property, then you're going to get it done for them. So
I guess my question is more along the lines of usually there's some higher end quality items in the home so if they've done upgrades in the home, how does that impact your CMA, or does it?
So once again, make sure that they have those lists of upgrades so we know what they are. As far as the upgrades, it all depends on the neighborhood, you know, because, you know, sometimes people do things that are not going to carry weight as far as the CMA, right?
Mm.
So I should, if I go there and they obviously spent, you know, $500,000 on the pool, I'm going to give them something extra for that, you know. I am, you know, but if they said, hey, you know, this chandelier here is from the Illuminati and such and such and was made and it's actually worth $500,000 and, you know, I'm going to be like, yeah, but the new buyer might not like it, you know? So, you know, those things don't carry the weight that people think that they do. Something like a pool or adding square footage or flooring or upgrades as far as countertops, windows, stuff like that, roof, I'll take those things in consideration. I don't take big consideration because they have a gold front door, you know, because nobody wants to pay extra for that and they might not like gold on their front door. You know, it's just that those are the things that are tough with some of the rich folk is that they do some like gaudy ass shit that only they like. And it costs a lot, but it doesn't transfer to an appraisal. So focus more on the structure and on traditional upgrades versus the weird stuff, you know, when it comes to pricing that out. But we'll take it little by little. You know, when you guys get those, we'll tackle those individually.
I
have a question.
Mhm.
You guys, whoever went, go first.
Okay. So how do you overcome like a seller who just is like emotionally attached to the property and everything that they want to do is added to the list price, and they also like do their own comps, which is like Zillow, or I spoke with my neighbor and they just listed their property for $240, but when you're looking at the other property, it's a different layout. It was built like 3 years ago. So it's not something that's really comparable. And no matter what I do to explain that, they just think that we should use it as a comp. So I'm trying to like overcome the emotion in all of it, as well as just because you added, like you said, that chandelier, it's not going to transfer into the buyer.
Yeah, absolutely. So, by the way, this will be I'm actually supposed to be in Paramore in 7 minutes. So I just realized that, which that's on me. So first and foremost, once again, we got to align first rather than fight them, right? Our initial thing is, let me prove this person that they're stupid, right? Like, let me prove them wrong, right? Number one is like, I can certainly see how beautiful that chandelier is. Out of curiosity, how much do you think that would add to the value of the home? you know, and you can ask them. I like to question and have them figure out their own answer. It's like the book Never Split the Difference. Rather than you tell them what's up, just say, you know, what do you think somebody, you know, what makes this chandelier special, right? Oh, well, you know, it's this and that, you know, and it's like, is that something that everybody knows about? Or is that something that's like, that you knew about? Like, how do you know about these chandeliers and stuff like that? Okay, cool. So what do you think somebody, you know, would pay extra they would pay for that chandelier? Oh, well, I don't know. Or, oh, you know, this chandelier is worth $50,000. Yeah, but what would they pay for it? You know, would a traditional seller, would a traditional buyer understand the value of that chandelier? And just kind of let them answer their own questions, you know, like let them keep digging that hole. As far as emotions, I like to get to the heart of it. Is, hey, it seems like you, I mean, first of all, like you seem very, very attached. You said they're attached to the home.
Yes.
Say, you know, so why are they selling it?
Because medical issues, they have 2 homes. They have to sell both of them to qualify for something that's more friendly for her medical issues.
Okay. So, you know, you say, you know, why sell the home? Oh, well, you know, I've got these issues. So we have to sell the home. So there's no way, is there any way we can figure out a way for you to keep the home? You know, because I don't mind trying to talk people out of something knowing that they have to do it, right? Because it shows them that I'm like, hey, I'm not desperate for this deal, and I want you to be happy. Hey, I want you to be happy. So it's like, is there any way we can make this home work? Like maybe you know, if you want to stay in the home and you don't want to leave the home, you know, maybe we can, you know, I could get you with one of my contractors and we could do something to the home to you know, build some ramp, you know, whatever it needs to be. Like what does the new home have to have, you know? And they might be like, nah, it's going to be too much. I don't want to do all that. So, okay. So then we definitely want to sell the home. Okay, great. So ideally, when would you want to have this home sold so that you could be in the new home? And as you continue to lead them down this road, you actually start like planting seeds of logic, right? So in order to sell this home, you know, if you want to be in your next home by this time, you know, here's a property, you know, here. So like this one here took 78 days to sell plus another to get under contract plus another 45. Do you want to be in your home for the next 3 or 4 months, hoping that this happens? You know what I'm saying? You know, and things like that. It's tough. I mean, there are some crazy people out there, Annie, like they're just whatever, but just understand that without me actually talking to the lady, I know for a fact that I want to get to the heart of what the pain point is. You know what I'm saying? Like, is there anything, so what is it that you're going to miss about this home? Ask them that. I want to know what the pain point is. Oh, I just love this and that, blah, blah, blah. They're like, yeah, I can understand that. That's really beautiful. I was like, is there any way we can recreate that in the new home? You know, because I want you to make sure that you're happy in your new place, you know, and just kind of more like become friends with them rather than tell them like, hey, just convince them that they should do it my way. Say, look, you know, I know how much value and how much work you put into this home. I know how much you paid for, you know, this chandelier and all that kind of stuff. And if we can get any of this stuff in a new home, I will. But here's what I know about real estate. You know, number one is that one of the most detrimental things you can do, and the thing that is going to lose you the most money and keep you from being in your new place, is overpricing property. You know, and people don't understand it, but it's the number one thing that takes money out of sellers' pockets. And I explained to them why, right? This is why, because, you know, I'm looking at the numbers in the neighborhood, and honestly, I know that you know the value of this, but most people won't. And there's almost always going to be an appraiser involved, right? Who's really going to look at more of the structure, the location, and things like that. They're not going to look at the fact that you got a gold door, right? And that's just, it sucks, but it's just the way it is, right? It's something that's unique to you. So if you overprice a property and it's supposed to be $350, but we price it at $400, the people who can actually afford $350 will never come see the property, because their searches are made to go up to $350, and they're never going to see your property come up in a search. So what's going to happen is you're going to get way less competition for your property. And let me tell you something, the number one thing that helps you sell your property for the most amount of money is competition, right? It's other people bidding against each other, wanting to get this home under contract. And in this market, we can accomplish that. Okay. But if we price it at $400, they're never going to come see the property. So what will happen is that you're hoping that somebody will see the property, they're going to offer you less, you'll meet somewhere in the middle. But the reality is that there won't be offers, right? There won't be offers because people won't see it in their searches. There won't be offers because people think that you're overpriced and maybe you're going to be tough to work with. And some people just feel bad about offering you $50,000 less for your home. Okay. You're going to lose out on all the competition and opportunity. What ideally we would want to do is price it at a price that's attractive, not too far below, but definitely not over, right? And if we miss it under, it's okay. Because guess what? You're going to get a massive amount of competition and I'm going to get multiple contracts. And what am I going to do? I'm going to go to each person and I'm going to say, give me your highest and best offer. Give me your highest and best offer. And once I get that highest and best offer, I'm going to go back around again. And I'm going to ask people again if they want to try to beat that next offer. And we'll push that price up to the very, very max. But I wouldn't do you the disservice of pricing this so high that nobody came and looked at it. And guess what? There's going to be some desperate agent out there that'll tell you they'll do it. And they're going to cost you a ton of money and a ton of time. And from what you told me, you wanted to be in the new home by this time. And my job is to get you there smoothly and get you the most money for your property. You know, when I talk to people like that, they don't really argue with me too much. You know what I'm saying? Like once I've heard them out, right? Once I've asked them a lot of questions, once I let them know that they feel understood, then I say, hey, let me give you my take on things and let's see if we can get it to there. So try the question, you know, the questions first, get to the pain point. You know, what, out of curiosity, it's a beautiful property. Is there any way we could even, like, it seems like you're really tied to this property and you love it. Is there any way we can help you keep it? I'll say some shit like that, you know, because that'll get their wall down and they'll be like, no, I wish I could. I'm like, oh man, I wish you could. I mean, it sounds like you really love this home, you know, so we definitely have to sell it. Okay. So my job is to help you sell this thing for the most money as soon as possible. Okay. That's what I'm here to do. But if you tell me you want to keep it, I'm not going to push you because I know you love it. When I talk to people like that, they're like, no. And then they just open up and they just let you do whatever you want to do, Annie. They're just like, nah. And they realize I got to sell this thing. Like I can't hold on to it. But if you fight them, you're going to have a problem.
Okay.
All right. All right, guys. I got to go pray more. Got to go to the hood.
Thank you.
All right, brother. Be safe.
Love you guys. Talk to you soon.